the one, the only Benzion. Good morning and welcome to Yeshiva YouTube. Iyun Benzion. Today is Daf Lamed Aleph Masechet Gittin 31. Not much to do with Gittin. The Mishnah on Lamed Aleph says, quotes an opinion of Rabbi Lazar, that let's say you set aside Trumas and Maestros in a room, and how long do you assume that they're there, right? You didn't go check on them. Your mafresh Trumas and Maestros from your crop and use them, right, to pater your Trumas and Maestros. You say the Trumas and Maestros from my crop is the ones in the room. And then, lo and behold, you go and check the room and they're not there anymore. Do we assume that they were never there? Once I last checked them, they were gone right away? Or do we assume they were there for a certain amount of time? So there's two opinions. The Mishnah says, Choshim Eis Leis. There's two different opinions what that means. One opinion is basically, you assume they were there until the last 24 hours. The other opinion says, the first 24 hours you can assume they were there. After that, we can't assume. And the Gemara says, at the fourth line, Laman Aleph Beis, Amar Rabbi Lazar, Chalukin Lav Chaveir Rabbi Lazar. There were two opinions of what Rabbi Lazar meant, but it doesn't make a difference, because the Rabbanan, which is basically a Mishnah, Masechtas Nida, says it's not true. Why do we know it's not true? There's a halacha that a mikvah shenimda nimsa chaser, right? You made a mikvah in a certain town, you measured it, it had the requisite amount of water. Then 2 months later, you check out the mikvah, it's missing the requisite amount of water. So a mikvah that's chaser, even a little bit, not our volume saw, it's considered a pasul mikvah. Any person who went in there that was tamei, they're still tamei. Any kalim which went in there are still tamei, right? When do we assume? Is there any point that we can assume and trust? He measured it 2 months ago and it was full. So what about an interim? Is there a part of it we can rely on to assume it was full? So the halacha is, our Rabbanan say, you can never rely, even in the first 24 hours. Once I checked it, only until that point. Even a minute afterwards, we assume it already lost the water, lost the requisite shear. An interesting part of this statement, Kol tar shenasal gabel l'mafreya, ben rishus yachid, ben rishus rabim tmeos. Anything that went in the mikvah, for the second I check it afterwards, we consider tamei. Now it's a suffix, right? It's at least a suffix. We're not sure over here what's going on over here. It's question fine. Bishus hayachid is a famous dictum we know. Masechah Sota. Suffix tuma bishus hayachid is tamei. When you're not sure if something's tamei or not. If it's in a private area, it's tamei. But what if the mikvah happened to be in a public area? Right? So suffix tuma shirabim. We learn Masechah Sota is tar. It's considered tar midoraisa. So what's going on over here? Why aren't we making with Shirabim? Why are we makar even Shirabim? And the answer is, like I explained in Masechah Sota, I believe this is the answer, is that Safek Tumor Shiyachid is Tameh, right? And Rishorabim is Tor. I believe when it comes to Tuma and Tara, even when we say something Tumor Shirabim, Rishorabim is Tameh, it's only Midrabanan. Because it's never is Chasik Yisur. There's a question, something's tamei, I'm not sure if I touched it or not. So, tuma is a spiritual concept. There's no physical concept. By other subject del raisa lechomra, if there's this chasik yisura, if there's a piece of chaylev over here, one piece of chaylev, piece of shuman, I don't know which one I ate. I eat the chaylev shuman. This chasik yisura tells us you have to be machmer at a level del raisa. That's why I bring an ashram taler. If there's no chasik yisura, then subject del raisa lechomra is only midrabanan. So all cases of tuma, because it's a spiritual thing, there's never anything physical over here. We can't assess. There's no, tests. There's no X-ray vision we can do to figure out if the person's tummy or not. So therefore, it's always considered lois chazak yisura, except in this case over here, because we're talking about a mikvah. The mikvah is something you can measure, right? When you have something tummy, you have a tummy piece of a dead person. Did I touch the dead person? Did I touch the dead person? Right? That's a question in me. Did I become tamei or not? But when you go into a mikvah, the pshat is you're a tamei person, you go into the mikvah. The pshat is not did I go into the mikvah or not, because you went into the mikvah. When it's a question, did I touch a dead person or not? It's a question about me. Did I touch it or not? Me, again, you can't assess tuma and tara. It's lois chasik yisura, lois chasik tuma. But when I go into a mikvah, I went into the mikvah. The question is not on me. The question is on the mikvah. And the mikvah is a physical presence. The mitzvah you can measure. Is 40 sa or not 40 sa. So in that case, we would say it's chasik tumasa. And therefore, safik tuma would be mido raisa, l'chomra mido raisa. And even though, and it would be midoraisa. Doesn't matter whether it's yachid or sharabim, right? We go to l'chumra because just like Safek Isser, it doesn't matter whether it's yachid or sharabim. Isura, we don't care whether it's private or a public place, right? The question is whether it's chazik Isura or lo is chazik. If it's chazik Isura, deraisa or machmer. If it's not it's chazik, it's rabbanan. But all tuma is basically lo is chazik Isura. So therefore, just like sota, where it uses the word tuma by sota, so we learned that the rabbanan were machmir midarabbanan in Rosh Yachid, and Rosh Hashanah they weren't machmir at all. So it's very mekel tuma. But here it's similar to Isser because the question is about the mikvah, not a question about you. You went into the mikvah. You're Tommy, you went into the mikvah. We measure the mikvah, and the mikvah is missing part of it. So then it's a question of is chazik to masa. So therefore, doesn't matter. Bein b'shisa yachad bein sharab. Just like Isser, it doesn't make a difference. It's better is chazik tuma over here, and we go l'chumra midoraisa in both cases, and therefore we don't even rely on chazaka. Even though when it comes, normally we rely on chazaka. 2 months ago it had. So maybe we should say the chazak extends for a certain amount of time, like Rabbi Elazar's opinion in the Mishnah. We don't even say that over here because something tuma midoraisa you go l'chumra over here, and we can't rely on a chazaka. In the case of Safek tuma midoraisa you go l'chumra. Hope you enjoyed today's share. See you in the next one.